So we move on to the crucial part of our day where we as individuals get a huge amount of information and knowledge and leave this room as experts ourselves in cryptocurrency. That might be a step too far, but let's hope that we go away with some useful, tangible information, which I'm sure we will do. But just to give you a bit of an intro to Kate, as I said, Kate is a crypto and blockchain specialist who talks all around the country in various formats, including lots of media appearances on the BBC and various other places. But Kate also has a very creative life. She's a published author multiple times in the science fiction genre and beyond. And one thing I noticed from Kate's Instagram, follow Kate on Instagram, I'm sure she'll give you those details, is that on Boxing Day, Kate likes to swim in the North Sea in freezing cold conditions, which, if anyone's watched the recent show on the BBC, is very, very good for you, apparently. Kate knows that instinctively. And I think the reason I mention that, it might sound a bit frivolous, it is Instagram, it's a different part of our lives, but all of us are multifarious individuals. There's lots to us. So yes, Kate is a blockchain specialist, but she's also a parent. She's also someone that lives in the world, that has to exist in all these structures that we have right now. But what Kate is trying to do is to be that person that is helping us to decipher where some of this activity is coming from, but doing it from a human perspective. And that's certainly the thing that I've gained from the very few words I've had to speak to Kate this morning, but also from looking at the way that Kate has spoken about things going forward. So hopefully you, as individuals, will also get that knowledge today. So, without further ado, please do give a round of applause to our great speaker today, Kate Baucherel.
Grab that. It's fabulous to be here. It really is. I actually haven't been down to New York before. I've come through it so many times in my life, going upwards, backwards and forwards up the northeast coast. But it's absolutely brilliant to be here. I know I've got loads of time, so I am ready for questions as soon as they arise. I've focused this talk around crypto and payments because that was the discussion that I'd had with Daniel and with Tamika. But I am very, very happy to expand and to go a little bit deeper into the detail of blockchain and how it's being, where it came from, how it's being used. Would you be interested in that as well? Fantastic. Okay. I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly because crypto is a very, very new space. And we have had Bitcoin now for just over 13 years. It was only in 2010 that a Bitcoin was actually used to buy something. So we are in a very, very early space. And we need to know that although this is fantastically innovative and is going to be part of business for the future, you have to know what you're doing and be very careful when you're dealing with blockchain and crypto because they're so new. And unfortunately, there are more scams than there are good things going on. And being really aware of the space is going to help you to succeed and to grab the opportunities that are there because there are a lot of opportunities. So, moving on quickly. So, we'll start off with why bother with crypto. And I will tell you a little bit about where it came from. We'll talk about exactly how you can use it, because I guess you're interested in how you can use it in your businesses. We will cover some of the complicated stuff, because it is complicated. And I'm going to give you a flavour of how this technology is being used all around the world now and the difference it's making to people. So first of all, the big lesson at the moment is this is going mainstream. 10% of adults worldwide are using crypto. That's a huge number. The wallet MetaMask has 21 million users. There are a lot of people who've discovered this. And the one thing that we do find is that in the UK, you don't have quite the interest and the adoption that you might see in other countries. And there's a good reason for that. The reason is that we've got what we call monetary stability and financial stability. So that means that we know that a loaf of bread is going to cost pretty much the same next week as it does today. We've got confidence in sterling. We've got financial stability. That means that we can go to a bank, we can get a mortgage on the house, we could get a loan, we could access trade finance. The mechanisms are there to support people and businesses. Yes, there are people who fall through the cracks, and I think that this could be an opportunity to support those people. But in the main, we've got fantastic fintech, money that's trusted, and access to finance. Not everybody does. And this is why the adoption is so extraordinary in various different countries. I think one of my favourite ones is the Philippines, which has possibly the highest crypto adoption. They have around 20% of people are using crypto. And they've found different ways of using cryptocurrency through COVID, when they couldn't exchange into dollars to buy commodities to sell, sort of like Netflix cards and stuff to sell to the people in their towns, and others who were earning money through gaming. So there is adoption where there is online savvy and a need to actually circumvent systems that are failing. So it's kind of an odd thing to be standing here and say, you know, crypto is going to be good for your business and crypto payments and so on, because it's not something that a lot of businesses consider. So you are already one step ahead of the people who haven't thought of it. So congratulations. They're valuable things. You throw out a figure like, crypto has a $1.9 trillion market capitalization, and everyone goes, you what? So this is the value of the crypto market. It goes up and down a lot at the moment. But that's around about half of the value of Amazon. It's huge. These things are valuable. You need to know how to look after them and how to stay safe and how to keep your customers safe as well. And artificial intelligence to pull out the insights from the data that's being collected. And you're able to go back and verify that data and go, yes, durian fruit has come from a producer that is specifically certified under Rainforest Alliance, and I can see their certification and I can see that it's valid. That's what blockchain gives us. So we have this real mix of amazing technologies, and blockchain's one of the key ones. So actually, before I go into the payment side, let's talk a bit about where it came from. Do you know where crypto came from and how it relates to a blockchain? Go ahead and guess.
It was founded by a group of people, I would have thought, you know, some people that are rocket science people where they just put things together miraculously and it works. But I think the blockchain added on, I'm presuming that all the different cryptocurrencies become, you know, we've got the coin and we've got different variations of money. That's, yeah. And then all the different cryptocurrencies join onto it, the blockchain. Might be right, might be wrong, might not be far off.
Close. Very, very close. So they are absolutely intertwined. But what you have is you have lots of different blockchains. So every single cryptocurrency has its own blockchain. Yes, bingo. So where did it come from? Well, it took them 30 years to make Bitcoin. So we go all the way back to 1970s, early 80s, and we have cryptographers who put the building blocks in place that we now rely on. So there was the invention of a thing that's called a Merkle tree, and that takes a huge amount of data, so lots of transactions, for instance, and it rolls them up into a single hashed string, a long string of letters and numbers. And that doesn't take up much space. So you can store it with lots of others, and you can go back and see the detail of the transactions, the information that's been rolled up. It's very, very clever. So from that single string, you can go and verify the things that are inside that string. It's really cool. And we have wallets and vaults that were invented at the time as well to protect assets. But what we got was people deciding that they wanted to have a peer-to-peer network of electronic cash. They wanted a way to make payments to each other without involving a bank. And so all the way through this 30-year period, we get things like PayPal came out of that. Because those are, if you think about it, with PayPal, you don't go through the bank, do you? But you've got to put the money in from the bank, and you've got to take the money out to the bank. So the bank's still involved. But eventually, what we get in 2008 is finally we get an idea of how this could work. And what we've done is we've taken all the knowledge and the experimentation over 30 years, and we get transactions that are made between people are validated by the network. So they check that all the bells and whistles are right, and that there's some money there and it's going to a valid place, and that you haven't tried to put it through 3 times so that everybody can go to the pub together because you've spent multiple times. And those transactions, when they're valid, they go into that list and they're rolled up into a Merkle tree root, into a string. And then that goes into a block. And the block's also got a timestamp, and it's got a reference to the previous block. So what you literally get is a chain of blocks of transactions, and that is a blockchain. So you're able to follow and look and see what's in a block. And if you went and tried to change something, you'd have to change every other block that it was connected to. And that's why it's very, very secure. So that's the beauty of Bitcoin. It was just the most incredible innovation. And it caught on. People thought, well, this could actually be something. And it's taken a while. There's been a lot of innovation around it. And we get other coins coming up, particularly Ethereum came out in 2015. And that gave people the chance to put software on top of a blockchain for the first time. And from there, we've just had this amazing journey through to what we have now. And I'll tell you more about what we have now a little bit later on. So, if we've got this basic peer-to-peer cash, where we haven't got a bank involved, how could you use just that simple thing in your business for payments? Because that was the original question that Daniel asked me, was around how do you harness this? And there are particular special things with it. And these are probably the 3 special things. So the big one in the middle there, easy cross-border settlement. So you don't need to go through a foreign exchange and say, I have a payment to make and my bank account is in sterling, so I want to make the payment in dollars, so I have to do it in a special way and there will be particular charges and it may take a long time. So there are barriers to doing stuff like that quickly. A crypto payment is fast and instant, and anyone around the world can transact in Bitcoin. Anyone around the world can transact in Ethereum. Anyone around the world can transact in DAI. Anyone around the world can transact in insert cryptocurrency here. So if you transfer from one wallet to another, regardless of where that person is, then you've got fast cross-border payments. And this is already being used by people who have trouble getting money across borders. I think there are some NGOs looking at this kind of thing to reduce the costs, because they'll often lose around 40% of donations from source to application, just because of the movement through banks going cross-border. And what we also have is what they call instant finality. I've got a finance background, so I know straight away what that means. But when you make when you tap your card on a card reader, does the payment go through straight away? No, absolutely not. Yeah, people think it does. What happens? It goes off by the end of the day to your bank. And overnight they'll say, all right, I'll process that. Oh, that one's got to be taken out of that bank over there, and that one out of that bank over there, and then they have to go and square up the books with the other banks. And it takes about 2 days. If you've been processing card payments through, anyone who takes Stripe? Anyone takes Stripe? Yeah, it takes about a week to get the money through, doesn't it? Yeah, this is what we're talking about. It doesn't matter. I mean, I've worked in big organisations. I was CFO for a FTSE 100 subsidiary. So we were turning over millions, and we would have people paying by Visa, by Mastercard, by Amex, and every day we would get tens of thousands coming through our bank, and we had to reconcile it back to the sales from 3 days earlier, or 7 days in the case of American Express. So it's not instant, so you don't get your cash straight away. But what you get with cryptocurrency is it's virtually instant. Bitcoin, it's a bit slow and clunky, bless it. It's old. It's a little steam engine, is Bitcoin, in so many ways. But that does 7 transactions per second, clunk, 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 and it takes about an hour for the block to be completely confirmed and the transaction's good and it's finalised. Nowadays, you've got really zippy things that will do 2,000, 10,000, more than 10,000 transactions a second. And they are instant. They will settle solid completely within 1 minute, 2 minutes. Very, very fast. Very, very instant. You get your money straight away. Okay, so that's a bonus. And we also have transparent records. I'll show you one later. So you can actually see straight away that a transfer has been made. You don't have to work through all of that trust piece with a customer. By that I mean, think to subscribing to a newspaper so you can read one of their articles for free, and then you have to pay £1 a month. They need to know who you are. They need all your data because they want to know that you're going to pay, that it's got to go through a card. It's going to be a couple of days before they get their money. If you have that instant finality and a transparent record that says you don't need to know who this person is, all you need to know is the money's in your account and look, there it is. That takes away an awful lot of the upfront, please give me all your data so I know you're going to pay me for these goods. So there's all sorts of advantages that come out of this particular structure for making payments. So cryptocurrency on that case is a good thing. There are some really, really fun things you can do with it. I'm doing all the positive stuff at the moment, and these are genuine tools that you can use. So these are 3 things that I personally use. I don't have any relationship to the companies, but I personally use these things. Actually, I do know the BottlePay people, but... I have a client who likes to pay me in crypto because they're based in Switzerland, and they use a thing called Request. So I send my invoice as usual from my accounting software, but then I also fill in all the details on this. And I say to them, I go through and I go, I would like to be paid in Polygon-matic to this account on the Polygon mainnet. Or I could choose to be paid in Ethereum on a different net. So I can pick the chain that I want my money to come into. And I can pick the currency that I want as well. It's a very, very clever system. It means that anybody can pay you in the currency you want. They do the conversions within Request. It's a really nice, clever thing. Second one is BottlePay. BottlePay is actually based in Newcastle. And they have a little app which does micropayments. And they're using a thing called the Lightning Network, which sits on top of Bitcoin. And it's very, very fast. They can run tens of thousands of transactions. So it's very quick, and it doesn't cost anything. It's minimal, absolutely fractional amounts. And this is the kind of thing where, if you think back to subscribing to pay for reading a newspaper, if you wanted to pay 10p to read an article, it would cost them 30p to actually process the card payment. But with this, you could pay 10p to read an article, and you'd get the money. The money would be transferred straight away, and everybody's happy. Okay, it's a fascinating app. And you can use it to pay in sterling, in pounds. You can use it to pay in euros. You can use it to pay in satoshis, which are the minuscule bits of Bitcoin, because you're not going to give somebody 1 Bitcoin. It's a lot of money. But what you can also do is choose how you receive your money. So you can say, you owe me a tenner from last night in the restaurant, send me the tenner. And then you can choose if you want to receive it in pounds, euros, or Bitcoin, basically. And so you've also got foreign currency conversion and crypto conversion going on there. So that's actually quite fun if you're thinking about fast micropayments for the services that you offer. And because it works in pounds, people don't need to know anything about crypto to use it. Same with request. Works in pounds. I want £200, but you can pay me in crypto. And it processes it automatically. And the third one is, I use this on my website. There are loads of cryptocurrency checkouts that you can plug into a WordPress site, a WooCommerce or something like that. I will be honest, in 5 years, I've had 1 payment through Blockonomics, but at least the option is there. And we're gradually seeing people offering crypto payments through e-commerce. So there are tools out there to harness this technology. But one of the things, I mentioned that obviously this one, we're using pounds, we're using euros, and we can flip backwards and forwards into Bitcoin if we want to. We can receive money in crypto for our invoices. Brilliant, fast, instant, I can see that it's arrived. But, and there's a big but, there are a couple of things you need to think about. The first one is the security. Because when you're working with a bank, people will look after your money for you. You've got a guarantee that you will get a certain amount of money back. I think it's 85,000 is the current cover if the bank goes bust. You don't get the same thing with crypto exchanges. They will cover the fiat currencies, the sterling and euros, don't cover crypto. So there is a saying, not your keys, not your crypto. If you don't have your own account, your own wallet on the chain, and your keys to get into that, you've lost it. Okay? So if you find yourself with crypto assets, any kind of coin or an NFT or anything like that, then you need to be able to protect them. And that's from all sorts of things. Protection from theft. You use a cold wallet, something like a ledger or a Trezor, to make sure that your keys to that door where your money is kept are kept safe. Actually, they're quite cool also, digressing again, for legacy planning, because I've worked with lawyers where people have had, there's been an unfortunate bereavement and they know that there's some crypto somewhere but they've got no idea what they're looking for, and we've found the codes to get into their ledgers and their Trezors, which is actually a really, really good point, because nobody can help you if the keys have gone. There are something like 19 million Bitcoin in circulation now, and about 4 million of those are thought to be lost, as in, we can see them on the chain, but no one can get at them because they've lost the keys. They could be in a hard disk in a dump, or they could be down the back of a virtual sofa, or they could have been eaten by the dog. And if you're not going to get them back, you're not going to be able to crack it, because the cryptography is so cool. It's elliptical curve cryptography, really, really hard to crack. And then we have our hot wallets. So MetaMask is a really popular one, which covers Ethereum, and lots of other chains can attach to that as well. Many wallets available, but the principle is not your keys, not your crypto. And a lot of the applications that you use in Blockonomics, you can't use an exchange or anything like that to use Blockonomics. You have to have your own wallet. So understanding how to keep crypto safe is a really, really big part of this. And that applies, to the wider thing. If somebody says, I'll look after your Bitcoin for you, don't. It's there's an awful lot of scams out there. So, now that you've kept it safe, and you might be taking payments in crypto, and it's all exciting, and your overseas customers can pay you quickly, and your micropayments are coming in, what are the problems? First thing is, it isn't currency. It isn't taxed like currency. It's taxed like stocks and shares. It's a totally different world. What that means is that every single time you do something with crypto, there's tax to pay. So you could have a little piece of crypto number 1 on an exchange, and you go, oh, I'm going to swap that for crypto number 2. You could be trading, you could need to pay. If you've made a profit, if that price has gone up, you owe the tax man 10% instantly. Yes?
Does it change when you cash out?
No, it's nothing to do with cashing out. That's the thing. People think that you pay tax on the crypto that you take out of an exchange. You don't. Not in the UK. It's different in different countries, but the general thing the general thing across most countries actually is that. There's a couple that are different. France is different. But generally, it's a gain as soon as it happens, regardless. So that means that with a volatile cryptocurrency, if you're not thinking about your tax, you might find yourself with tax to pay and nothing in your pocket. So you've got to be really careful about that. How do you price your goods and services? If your crypto is bouncing up and down like a ping pong ball, which is what's been happening over the last few weeks. And it has been bouncing up and down, let's face it. So if you price something in a cryptocurrency and go, oh, this is going to cost you 6,000 satoshis, and actually it costs you in pounds half of that, and then the price drops. You've lost all of your profit. So how do you price something if you're working in cryptocurrency? That's a really tricky one. This is partly why we would say you're going to confuse customers if you price in cryptocurrency, and there's going to be a huge risk to yourself. But what you can use is the technology underneath those payment backwards and forwards, what we call payment rails, so between each other and across borders. What blockchain do you use? You have to think quite carefully about what currencies you want to play around with. In business terms, I am not talking about trading. I'm not going to talk anything about investment. But in business terms, what do you use? What's the technology behind each chain? They're all different. Have they got a good record on climate? Are they fast? Are they slow? Have they been established for a long time or a short time? So there's an awful lot to understand about the tech that you use. Gas fees. Anyone know what gas fees are? Someone who knows what gas fees are. Have you been caught by gas fees?
Yeah, Ethereum still.
Yeah. Okay. So Ethereum is the most popular public enterprise chain, and it's also the one that a lot of games are built on and so on. And the way that it works is it says, I'm going to charge a fee for this transaction, and it's based on the actual little bit of code that governs that transaction. So if the code is this wallet sends some money to that wallet, it's, the function is check that it's got some money, check that it's going to the right place, move the thing. Each of those functions has got a unit cost. So I think that one works out as 27 units of gas. But then you have to pay the gas fees. So you might have a transaction that you want to send £10 worth. Your gas fee is 70 or 100. The worst gas fee I heard of was around about $75,000. and the transaction failed. I'll need to check the details of this, but I'll need to check the details of exactly what that was when it happened. But I've written about it before. So there are all sorts of pitfalls for people who are using crypto, and you've got to keep your customers safe. You don't want to really annoy them by saying, "Can you pay us in Ethereum?" It's a tenner plus the gas fee. Okay. Wallets and exchanges, we've covered that, and the perception of crypto, obviously. There's a big thing around the perception of crypto, which is the volatility and the climate side of things. So let's have a think about how volatility goes. This is just the Bitcoin graph. So there we go. We've tootled along. There we go. So I started trading around about here, and then worked up. I got all excited in 2017. I bought myself a laptop. I have done the tax. And then I just sort of forgot about it and maybe bought a little bit more and forgot about it. And then I went, oh, okay, this is exciting. And then it sort of dropped over the summer and you're sitting there staring at it going, is it going to go up again? And then it got really exciting. And now we're sort of down here, which is where we were, around about there. And everyone's a little worried and it's, the prices aren't good. But that's crypto trading. That's a whole other ballgame. All stocks and shares are down at the moment as well. I mean, you're not trading in stocks and shares to run your business, are you? Okay, so the time you need to worry about crypto price is effectively when you're doing your taxes and when you're pricing stuff. So if you buy something really excited up here and you go, oh, I'm going to swap something that I bought here. And up here I'm going to get something else that's going to go to the moon. And then it falls like a stone. You've still got to pay the tax on that gap. Okay? So be very, very careful. If somebody's paid you when the price is low and then you pay another bill when the price is high, you've got tax to pay. If somebody asks for a refund and the price has changed, what are they expecting their refund in? Are they expecting it in crypto or are they expecting it in pounds? So there's an awful lot to think about how you manage playing around with this kind of unpredictability and managing the expectations of your customers. I'm digressing in all sorts of directions at the moment, I know that. So there is, I will just talk about, oh no, wait a minute, yes, tax. we mentioned tax, and actually everybody is thinking about tax now. This is an email that everybody got in January saying, HMRC has just asked us to give them all of the details of your Coinbase account, so they know that you're there. The taxman can read a transparent ledger as well as the next man, and a lot of people are not aware of this or comfortable with this. They've actually got a huge amount of guidance on how to treat crypto. They've even got a publication now on how to tax DeFi and liquidity pairing and lending and staking. So the taxman knows exactly what is going on with crypto. So one of the big things is if you are going to do anything with cryptocurrencies, you've got to keep really, really good records. Luckily, there is help out there. There's a lovely little website called Coinly with a K, and they will do your tax reports for you. Just link up all of your accounts and they will work out the tax, which is a really, really handy thing. It's also a nice way to keep track of your all the stuff that you're getting in backwards and forwards from customers as well. So keep an eye on that. And finally, oh, there we go, not finally. This is an example of the records that you can keep. Who has ever seen the inside of a blockchain before? I knew you would have. Anyone else? Okay, let's do a little bit of a guided tour. So, you probably already know all of this. Where are we? So, right up at the top there, I was going to say I've got a Merkle route on here, but I haven't. Right up on the top there, we've got a hash. So it's that string of letters and numbers that is the summary of all of this transaction. So remember, we went right back to the cryptographers, to Merkle and Chohm and all of that sort of thing. This is the root of blockchain records, because those little hashes are really, really small. A block on Bitcoin networks, less than a megabyte. They're tiny, tiny things. So that, I can put that into a tax report and go, here, go and look at the transaction. And all of this information will be there. So this is me actually buying that little artwork last year. What can we see about it? Well, we can see that it's block number 12070494. I can click on that and I can see the blocks before it and the blocks after it. So I can see the entire chain of blocks. You can see exactly when it was done. So if anybody queries a transaction, you can go back to this transparent audit trail, this record, and you can tell them I did that on March the 19th at 5:10 in the afternoon. And that's never going to change. That's always going to be there. What else have we got? We can see where the transaction, what the transaction was. We can see, in fact, you can expand this and see some of the code behind it as well. You can see how much it was. You can see the transaction fee. This is the gas fee that I talked about. So this was the equivalent of $600 at current price. Costs $70 to actually do the transaction on top of that. Okay? And that was the price at the time. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that did not cost me $600 because I bought my ETH ages ago. But that means I've got tax to pay because I've disposed of my bought it when I bought the coin and when I effectively sold it in exchange for that. So all of this I can use to show what I've done. The taxman can use to check what I've done. Customers could check to see that this is a real artwork. So they could go back through and say, well, I'm thinking of buying that from you, but have you just right-clicked it and uploaded it, or does it trace right back to the original artist? And you could trace that thing all the way through and see when it was first uploaded. And you'll see that it was first uploaded by a specific artist, and you can see when it was created. Yes?
So these gas fees, they were to avoid them, was it inevitable?
Oh, the gas fees. That's a really interesting one because there is a change in place at London. Yeah, sorry. Are gas fees avoidable? No. Not when you're on this network, but there are many other networks that do not work in the same way. And this one is changing the way it works in order to be cleaner and greener and cheaper. And so that's happening over the course of this year, which is a good thing. But that's one of the things I said about choosing your blockchain, actually. If you're going to do stuff on this blockchain, you've got a lot of transaction fees to deal with. So you choose a different one. This used to be really cheap, but it isn't anymore. So I can trace right back to the origins of that, and I can confirm it's a real digital artwork. And if I sell it to somebody, then the original artist actually gets a cut of the royalties as well. They actually get a cut of the sale. So you start to see, and we're painting a picture here of a real web of information that anybody can access. You've got ways of harnessing this technology to make fast payments, simple payments across borders, and to what they call provenance goods. So you can go back through a chain and prove where something has come from. You could go back through a chain and prove that you've got your rainforest certification. You could go into a chain one day, I don't think it's too far off, and show your digital identity. That's possibly the holy grail of blockchain, is if you can show who you are, and even just show the thing that somebody needs to know, like, are you over 18? Tick. I trust that because I know it's come from this system. One of the tricky things, and this is why that blockchain is currently moving its core from one method to another, one consensus mechanism, one proof to another, is the perception of Bitcoin is killing the planet, and the real need to deal with climate change. And I said before that Bitcoin steams along at a clunky little 7 transactions per second, and it is a steam engine in more than one way, because there's an awful lot of power being used to keep that network secure. Because every time you've got one of those blocks, you need to get somebody to effectively tick it and go, yeah, that's fine, before they move on to the next block. And what you don't want is for your mate to be the one who is ticking, confirming that block, because then you could work together to steal some money, and that would not be a good thing. So they had to find a way to randomise it. And what they've got is a giant game of international hungry hippos, where everybody is trying to grab their chance to confirm a block, yay, and then they win some Bitcoin. So there's all of these miners going 24 hours a day trying to win some Bitcoin, and they're using a lot of energy to do it. And some of it's renewable, and a lot of it isn't, and it uses every single transaction is something like just a little bit more than somebody doing a transatlantic flight, which is not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. So when it comes to choosing a blockchain, you could say, I am the greenest business out there, and you can pay me very quickly, and you can pay me cross-border, and it's all lovely, and they'll go, which blockchain are you using? You go, Bitcoin, and they'll go, really? You're a green business? And increasingly, big companies will have their ESG, their environmental and social agenda, where they have to be sure that they're being sustainable. And you'll have customers that come and go, where did those raw materials come from? Well, everyone got a good human rights record at the bottom of that supply chain, have you? What about the climate cost of your goods? And this is part of it. So the newer blockchains are cleaner, greener, and a lot faster. So step into this world with the knowledge that you have to do more research. I can't teach you everything in 45 minutes or an hour, but at least I can point you in different directions about where to go. And the thing is, people really are going in incredible directions. So we started off with just coins, value going backwards and forwards. And then we said, well, how about putting some extra software in there? These things are programmable after all, we can make them do stuff. And then they said, wait, we could have unique things. And we start to get digital assets, individual unique items. You'll know them as NFTs. Because bizarrely, they're non-fungible tokens, because fungibility is a really common word. But these are things that can be bought and sold. They are assets that you can follow through the chain, like that painting. But they don't just have to be paintings. That durian fruit is an NFT. So in Thailand, about 2017, I think 2018 was the proof of concept. It was a company that digitally twinned 1.2 million durian fruit and followed them through the blockchain. And it was a really successful thing. They now follow avocados, squash, flowers. They work in Mexico and Kenya and Australia and in Southeast Asia. It's not that they wanted to have a digital durian. I know it would smell better, but that is not the point. The point is that the people at the bottom of the supply chain in their villages. I've been in the rainforest in Southeast Asia. I've seen somebody's grandma walking up the mountain path, past all of us panting tourists, I have to say, with a basket on her back collecting pineapples. But all of the money is in the top of the supply chain. Insurance claims were coming back down to the villagers and back down to the collators and transporters because they were at the bottom. And maybe the fruit had been damaged later. So all they did was they took a photograph of durian fruit and attached it to the digital. Here, send the insurance claim to them. And it started to improve the financial, the cash flow of the people at the bottom. And then they said, all right, so you want to build a new shed with some a bit of air conditioning or good ventilation. So you'll need a loan for that, won't you? Do you have proper books showing how much you've bought and sold? Well, now you do, because you've got this blockchain that's got all of the assets, and you can show you're part of this bigger supply chain. So they opened up trade finance. Mangoes. Now, mangoes aren't actually NFTs at the moment, but they may well be soon. But this is a proof of concept looking at crops, starting from the beginning and saying, instead of having to sell your crops to the person who picks them up, which is a monopoly after all of you in all of these villages, and the transporter who's collecting them, and the broker at the market, you can all get together and decide what price you're going to point at which it's sold in the market, and then everybody gets their share. And the day they rolled it out, they increased the revenues to the farmers by 7.5 multiplier, which is just extraordinary because they cut out that jump all the way through. They cut out that chain of custody. So there's been some extraordinary stuff going on. Actually, the durian fruit starts to get even more interesting because now, if somebody has an invoice that they've sent to their client, their customer, oh, here we go, you've had a whole shipment of avocados or flowers or whatever, they can then go to a bank and say, I've got this invoice, can I sell it to you? We call it invoice discounting, and we can access it. Other people can't. They can sell the invoice, get the cash, build the warehouse, and it's making the businesses grow. This is what blockchain's doing. This is what NFTs are doing. It's fantastic. In the US, they tried tracking grants. So whenever someone got a grant, they would make it a token. So it would tell you, it would have it within it, this is yours, and it allows you to spend on these things. And they found it was so effective, they're now rolling it out from the Bureau of the Fiscal Service in the US. Completely on the opposite side of things, you can go onto Superstar Market and you can buy food for families in Afghanistan with crypto. Because they get the instant payment, they're not waiting for cross-border transfers, they're not relying on banking, and they are allowing people who are outside of Afghanistan to continue to support their families using crypto payments. So there are some fantastic things happening. And this is where I think it all comes together, and I want you to realise it's not just about payments. It's about what you can do with the technology. And we soon, so the things that you are doing in your business, you'll be delivering services online, you'll be selling goods, a digital pattern to 3D print your house. So that's a digital thing that becomes physical. You might sell a virtual trainer. I think Nike and Adidas are already doing that. You could get somebody to walk around with your brand on their hoodie, on their avatar in Decentraland, and every time they pass somebody, they get paid advertising. It's not happening yet, but it's going to. This is where the sci-fi comes in, but my secret thing with my sci-fi is that virtually everything in it is already happening, or very, very close to it. We have physical things becoming digital. This is a Louis Vuitton handbag. I've never had one. but that's got an RFID chip in it, and it is an NFT, and so you can follow. This is definitely a Louis Vuitton handbag. It isn't a counterfeit. So their idea is, we're going to stop counterfeiting. You can go all the way back and you can see information about the raw materials, where they came from. You can then sell it on, and the person who gets it knows it's a genuine one. What do you mean you're going to charge me 500 quid for that? I can see it was only 300 new. And then you've got the care instructions in it as well. So there is these are real things that are happening now. I went to a Dolly Parton concert in March. That's my ticket stub. It's a bit like what I used to stick on the wall in Smith's gigs and stuff. But that's my virtual ticket stub. Because I was there, because I was physically in the space, I got ticket stub onto my wallet. Can't get it any other way. I've got game pieces, I've got artwork and so on, and we're getting a lot of people protecting intellectual property because you've got that verification and you've got that transparency. Is this the real thing? And then thinking about the carbon side of things, we've even now got, for electric vehicles, one of the big concerns is EV batteries. And I know there's a company in London that is working on green or sustainable battery production, and the way they do it is they go, you can't manage something if you can't measure it. And so, like with the durian fruit, they've gone all the way back down to the bottom of the supply chain, and they follow from the cobalt ore all the way to the battery, and they add the emissions at every single stage. So somebody can say, this battery we absolutely know accounts for this much carbon emission, and then they can go and deal with it, and they can check the human rights records, and they can check the certifications, and they can make everything better. It's an absolutely extraordinary world, and you're part of it. And because you're here, whether you're sitting in the room or you're on the live stream, you're taking the first steps to harness a really exciting technology. And I have no idea what time it is, but I bet there's a couple of questions.
I'm going to help facilitate that part of it.
Thank you, Kate. So this is the cool bit where we get to find out what people have been thinking or what you've learned today. So I'm going to be going mic because it's easier for the people on stream, obviously, to hear what questions people have, and then I'll come back and give Kate the mic to answer the questions. So, does anybody want to raise their hand about all of that content? Okay, have a question.
Hi, Kate. Just a question about the NFTs that you were talking about. So, in that case, can anything virtually be an NFT? And can anyone make an NFT? And if they do, then what's kind of the value of it?
Thank you, Daniel.
Oh my goodness, so much to unpack there. Yes, there are a lot of really awful NFTs out there, aren't there? Okay, yes, anyone can make an NFT in the same way that anyone can make a thing and try to sell it. The value of something comes from its utility, its beauty, or is it in fashion? So there are beautiful, let's think in the physical world, there are beautiful artworks that nobody buys because they're not in fashion, for instance. There are things that are incredibly useful, but you don't necessarily have a huge value to them. There are things that are massively in fashion and you wonder why. I mean, fidget spinners were happening 5 years ago, Rubik's Cubes, So there's this function of fashion and utility and beauty, I think, are probably the three things. So that Dolly Parton concert, actually, here's a one. There was an NFT was being issued for the conference I was at, and it was pretty ugly. I didn't really need one, and I wasn't bothered. And then I found out that if you had the NFT, you got in the front of the queue for the Dolly concert. And the NFT was only 20 quid. So I thought, well, I'll have an ugly picture of a bat drinking beer, And then I can get into the front row for the Dolly concert. It had utility. It does not have beauty. It's not particularly fashionable, but I've had my utility out of it. So that's the value of it for me. There are, you've got to think in that way. There's a lot of people that go, can we hang an NFT on this somehow? And I'm like, why would you want to break it back down into the physical world? And why you would do something? Is it something to retain your customers? I mean, we get big things like, some of those really expensive, stupid ones, the Bored Apes and the Lazy Lions and so on. That's, entry into some sort of bro community that I've absolutely no interest in being in. But that's the utility that people see. They're part of the community and you get things. But, you could do that with your season ticket. You could do that with your... We're seeing a lot of stuff around football at the moment, and people are saying, why are clubs issuing NFTs? But actually, if you go back and think about it, you don't have physical tickets anymore. So you haven't got the collectible. You don't have physical programs anymore, so you haven't got the collectible. So actually, it's the same thing. It's just they're having to put collectibles into the digital world, so that's what they are. Does that help?
That was the question.
Any other questions? Okay. Yeah.
Hi. In a crypto environment, in a buy and sell situation, how are the cashbacks handled and who sets the terms?
Thank you.
Yeah, there are no cashbacks in crypto, so you'll be processing everything yourself. It really is peer-to-peer, so there's literally no intermediary. This is why I don't encourage people to just do everything in crypto, because it's not like dealing with banks. There is no guarantee for a cashback or anything like that. So use it for the purposes that are most useful to you. If somebody's doing a micropayment of £1, you're not really going to actually end up with a cashback situation. If somebody's buying something very substantial using crypto as a means of payment, then the conditions of sale would be within the contract of sale. So I think it comes down to, because it is peer-to-peer, you're not relying, you haven't got anybody else in the middle who's going to help you. So you have to be really tight on your conditions of sale, and there is no way that you can physically recover money. So there is a trust piece there as well. So that's a really, really good question. And thank you for that. Does that help to answer it?
Yeah, when I saw the statement, that's the first thing that sort of came to mind. Anyway.
Yeah. As soon as something's gone, you can't get it back.
I mean, gateways are now accepting crypto. So
Yeah, gateways are accepting crypto. That's absolutely true. But I think that if you have a payment gateway set up, you will have your terms and conditions of sale. And it is important to know that you can't simply rely on you can't rely on an intermediary to stop a payment or to sell the next thing. So if a gateway accepts crypto, the person who is sending it knows that the money has gone to you. If you are sending somebody crypto, then there is the transparency to show that it has been sent, but I believe that you still need all of your commercial conditions around it to have that trust piece. There are escrow services that exist for crypto, so that you can use an intermediary. So it can be that the money is here, and it is guaranteed to move. So similar to what you do with sterling, with fiat currencies.
So basically, you have to trust the other person.
Basically, you have to trust the other person. So I think it depends very, very much on what you are transacting. Depends very much on what you're transacting. One of the things that I will say is, in terms of establishing trust, what you do have with anyone who's transacting on blockchain is you've got that transparent ledger. So you can go back and look and say, have they, is this the first transaction they've ever done? That smells bad. Have they regularly bought and sold? Is there somebody else I can talk to that they've dealt with? And you can see all of that. You don't need to trust their word. So that is a bonus, I think. But it is still, in business you are always making sure that you have conditions in place and trust established. The transparency will help to build a picture of the person you're dealing with.
Someone else had their hand up. Who was that person? I definitely seen somebody raise their hand before I went to him for a question. No?
Maybe it was the same question.
Do you have a question? I have a question. I wrote some notes here. I have a few questions, but we can have a chat when we're networking. So, what's the difference between a cold wallet and a hot wallet? Because I know there was a list of information,
Oh, yeah.
but it seems like there's an option in terms of which wallet works best. So that's my question.
Okay, so some people say about the metaverse that this Web3 is your own sign-on, so your wallet. So a hot wallet is something that sits on your browser. They're normally browser extensions or something on your phone where you can simply say, sign, yes, that's me. Or you can interact. It's the thing where you interact with software. So if you are on a shop or on a game that says, identify yourself, you go, well, that's me. But the thing is, if something is that easy to just tap and go, yeah, that's me, and you can't necessarily sometimes see what you're tapping, it's very, very easy for people to inject fraudulent transaction clicks in there. I know very experienced crypto people who've lost money because they go, yes, that's me. A cold wallet is the equivalent of two-factor authentication. So you would have that, but it would say, can we just check that it's you? Can you plug this USB into your computer where you're doing this transaction? And you can also have a separate set of wallets, little vaults with high-value things in. So that's the difference, that it's something that when you take it out of the computer, nobody can get to it because it's on a USB. Whereas everything else is potentially somebody could get to it because it is hot, it is sitting online.
So it's a little bit like basically being able to do where you just tap and go.
Yeah.
Contactless, if someone literally
Contactless, yeah.
and obviously they can use that all day long without you blocking your card. It's a similar concept. Sorry,
I'll just say that again. So, like when you have your contactless card of your bank, and if you left it in a bar, for example, and there was loads of people sat behind you, and then you left it, they could make loads of transactions without verifying that that's you. Bank wouldn't know it's not you if you're just using it. But then obviously if you go to do a transaction in the bank or online, then you have to go through, getting a text to your phone with a code or whatever to put it in to verify you're making payment and so forth. So that's my understanding. It kind of works in a similar way depending on what you're doing.
I've got an even funnier analogy actually. So when I teach at university, around my neck I have a lanyard, and on my lanyard I have an ID card. Has anyone ever had one of those ID cards that you can tap it to go through a door? Okay, so let's say that lanyard is my wallet, and hanging on that wallet is a thing that identifies me. It's a token that says, this is Kate, and she's allowed through these doors, and you've got a different token, so you're not allowed through those doors because you're a student, not a staff, or whatever. So I can carry that around and I can tap through doors, and that is my hot wallet. Okay, so then I decide that I'm going to load up that card with all the money I'm going to need to buy a slap-up lunch every single day of the year. But it's still hanging around my neck, and somebody could get that and go and spend my hard-earned lunch money. So actually I want to keep the lunch money somewhere else. And so that's what the cold wallet is. It's for the valuable thing. Whereas the hot wallet is, yes, I can interact with all this. I need it to get into my game. I need it to get into my OpenSea. I need it to get into my whatever. But you don't need it. You don't want all of that value still hanging around your neck.
So would you class the hot wallet as the MetaMask and the cold wallet as the ledger?
Yeah, so hot wallet, MetaMask, and Ronin, and all the others, and then the cold wallet is Ledger or Trezor, yes.
So what is like the advantage of the ledger? Because I don't have one.
So again?
So what's like the advantages of having a ledger?
The advantages of having a cold wallet are that if it's not connected to the internet, no one's going to hack it. Yeah. You can take it out of the computer and it's not accessible unless you're logged in.
So is the core was like USB then?
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you put stuff on the you just
No. There's a software interface and it's very complex and very well secured. And that USB is effectively your key to interact with the software, and that software recognises you and recognises your assets. Remember I said you can see the assets of anybody. You can go back onto the Bitcoin blockchain and you can see the original Bitcoin that were minted in Satoshi. I'm not sure what's going on there. So no one's got the key. And so what you have with your cold wallet is that is a key. And if you've got the key in your pocket, no one else can nick it and get in. If you get the key out and stick it in, you can do stuff with the assets.
Any more questions before we wrap up for lunch? No? Any questions from the streamers? Oh, sorry. Is anybody online asking any questions that they'd like to know? No? Okay. Do you have a question? All right then. So yes, we're going to stuff our faces now. We're going to have some tea as well. And yeah, it's been great. Can we all give Kate a round of applause for that? That was amazing. Is there any final thoughts or comments or suggestions?
Bon appetit, enjoy your lunch. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Andrew, can you come back? Are you to the toilet? I think I'm understanding where Kate was actually. We're just loading. So did everyone enjoy that? I mean, it's quite insightful. I think it was incredible to learn a little bit more from the business and the way currency works and everything. Because with Bitcoin and crypto, I only hear about the making money element of it. To be fair, for everybody that's involved, it's like you can make money and you can have something about people losing money as well. But they're just normal people, like just everyday people that have found that crypto could work in terms of later on investment. But from a business perspective, even for myself, it's great to know how it works in terms of buying and selling and saving. So, and obviously the security element of it as well is really important. And I didn't know half of what Kate just shared with us, so it's great to know. So yeah, it's interesting. Definitely need to do an extension of this. I think there's a lot more we could learn, but not all in one moment, of course not. But I think we've gone for weeks about this stuff. And Kate, you've got books as well, haven't you?
Yes, I have. They were all up on the screen.
So there's a whole screen there, but I think Kate has a website that you can go on and find out some more stuff about her. Maybe Google her name, Kate Baucherel. Katebaucherel. And you can find her. Just Google her. She's on Instagram, she's everywhere. Got books on Bitcoin and everything, so I'll be copying myself one of those. For sure. So, we're just about to plug in. What is that? Oh, okay. Swap in the battery. I think that's a bit better. Sorry, we're just waiting for some internet. That's the thing about digital stuff as well. We rely on it a lot, but it's always like Wi-Fi and stuff. It's definitely new age. And when you're in the physical, you can just kind of get on with it because you're in control of what's happening. But when you rely on technology, you've got to hope for the best, which we're doing now. So my colleague is just loading up my brand deck, so I can tell you a little bit about what I do and my purpose of Be Global and these series of events. Maybe we can have one of the digital guys in the back to come and give us a hand. Would that be a good call? Thank you. I just have to do it wrong on my bit. It's putting ever so smoothly, and as soon as I'm do that, it's crashing now. Is yours working?
No.
Oh, I didn't know if you signed up to the Wi-Fi, so I was going to say, is it moving slowly for you, or is it okay?
Yeah, it's not working.
Oh.
I was going to say, maybe reset.
Did we lose
That will trick.
Switching off again.
You can be silent.
Could you not?
My husband's away this week, and he's literally just texting me this morning, going, "Why can't I send a text to anybody?" He tried to switch things off on Friday, and he sent me a text and went, "I can do it." How many WhatsApp email backwards that I can't send to WhatsApp? I texted him to my and then he started, "What have you got the fag on? WhatsApp?" What he said just now is he has it on his phone, so can you just send me some more?
Got it now. Dan, did you pause the live stream?
So this is the bit where you learn a little bit about me and my brand and my involvement with Be Global Network. So I'm Tamika Martin and I'm the CEO and founder of this business. You Create PR and Events Management Limited was founded by me in 2015. So it's about 7 years, 5 months old. It's still ticking, which I'm grateful for because we had the pandemic and I could have easily fell flat on my bum with things. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of maintenance, a lot of resilience involved to keep your business afloat. So I'm really thankful that we've got to this point and I'm able to showcase what's happening. So what do? We help brands communicate their talent and message to the right audience through the right channels at the right time and through strategic PR and well-designed branding and marketing. And we do that really well. And I'm sure Be Global will back me when I say so. So we are the solution. So this is me. So I'm an award-winning director. Don't really need to read much off the board. 3 times award-winning director, and yes, I've done all sorts. I specialise in entertainment, so work with the entertainment industry, and PR is my forte. I'm very knowledgeable, resilient, highly ambitious, and creative. So this business came about through my creativity and wanted to explore how you can give people a service which is a multi-service, so they don't have to go to various different business or organisations to get what they want. It's literally everything under one roof. So all of the services interlink quite nicely. They are PR, entertainment, events and travel. So, key accomplishments. So, won awards 3 times. We've got a media award, an international best media award. We've got best entrepreneur of the year, and we've also got an award for our services, which is amazing. Been a finalist in a couple of corporate awards as well, for best business pivoting through COVID, which was great. And also for myself particularly, again, business female entrepreneur of the year. So we basically have a clientele that we have locally and nationally, and we're disrupting the field that we operate in quite well. So we're partnered with businesses in different parts of Europe and the US. They consist of digital services, an island, fashioned house as well in Germany. So we're growing, we're scaling up in terms of partnership and what we can offer our stakeholders. We've also successfully executed events with international artists and influence as well, which I'm proud to say. There's some very interesting faces, which we'll come along to in a little while. Obviously, like I said, we've been securing business partnerships in Europe and the US as well. We've increased our client stakeholder reach as well, which I'm incredibly thankful for. And that comes into the big global stuff as well, and other corporate stuff we'll be doing over the next few months. So that's really, really great. I'm not going to read it all, but yes, we've been doing quite a lot of collaborative work as well. And we're still scaling up, so yes, it's really, really good. I'm really grateful for the position which my business is currently in. Next. So, cost-effective PR. So yes, we do that really well. We basically offer a service that interlines well with our demographics, so there's something in there for everybody. We make sure that we're competitive, but at the same time, the costs are lower because we're in the Midlands of the UK. If you go to London or you go to, somewhere higher up in the country like Edinburgh or Glasgow or something, might have to pay a little bit more for the services. The reason why we do that is because the demand might be a little bit lower, but it's more appealing and more engaging if you can market yourself as that. So obviously then we get a client increase, which is amazing. So that's what we do really well. Event management as well, from large scale to small scale, corporate, charity, private events is what we specialise in, from every spectrum. Music gigs, festivals, conferences, baby showers, all sorts of range from different elements. And obviously the charity stuff, we've done quite a lot of stuff in the past as well, with different organisations. That include Oxfam, the Family Fund, Sickle Cell Society, and the list goes on, and it's still growing. We talent source, so Euclid's forte is sourcing talent. Key areas of interest are to nurture and develop our efforts with clients and professionals, influencers, that kind of thing, to seek opportunities which in turn will enhance their position in their fields by growing their fan bases or audiences. So we do that as well, we put people on. Friends, and that was founded in 2018, and this is a red carpet event that I executed. It was the first of its kind, and it's still growing. We had the pandemic, so it's been on pause, but we're rearing to go again. And this is some of the lovely attendees of that event. You can see the Las Vegas showgirls there, a live band, and some drinks on deck there as well. So these are some of the kinds of people that we've worked with in the past. So models, recording artists, influencers, and they are, so this lovely lady who's still my client, she's based in Nigeria. These are some of my ex-clients, they're music artists from the States. Basically are a private hire, luxury, affordable, comfortable, reliable transportation for our team and clients and partners, of course. And basically, if you're ever visited, connect with them, you can connect with them through myself or anybody in the business, and we can get you around Italy in style and comfort. Then we've got a couple of more partnerships that we can talk about. So FBB International, oops, we moved across a bit fast, but it doesn't matter. So FBB, they are the fashion house that were born in LA, now trading in Germany. We've done some partnerships with collaborators with them in the past, where they've basically given some of our models, items to wear, to promote their brand, obviously, and obviously to promote our clients as well. Two, they're a bespoke graphic designer, which collaboratively contribute to rebranding New Create and its clients and offer support to our events, flyer design, banners, and all things digital. So as I spoke about charity before, we are charity champions. We are passionate about local communities. Giving back is one of our brand's strongest qualities, and we are very proud to say so. And we will continue to do that at every level as we grow. So this was a picture taken of me and Kerry Katona at Tamika Martin and Friends. It was the event where she came and graced my hot seat for a Q&A with entertainment, that red carpet launch event I spoke about earlier. And we do these gracefully. So VIP events are our fortes, or we love them. So if you're interested in hiring you create to stage one of your red carpet VIP type of events, then you know where to call. And that's it from me. So that's what my business does. That's a little bit about us. We are moving premises. So at the moment, we're based at Arnold Business Centre. When you put us in Google, that's what comes up. But we're moving to West Bridgeford area in Nottingham, in the UK. So that's going to be our new home. We do work remotely at the moment because of the pandemic. So we're moving around quite a lot. And as you can appreciate, we're quite a busy company. So lots going on at the moment. It's really exciting. But you can connect with us on Twitter, you create PR, on Facebook, you create PR and events management, and on Instagram, you create PR and events. And if you Google us, we've got 5 stars, so I'm very pleased to say that. Thanks for having me, and yes, it's great to be collaborative working with Be Global, and we hope to see you at some more of our events over the next few months. Thank you.
Watching the live streams, obviously the first event for ourselves. Hope you enjoyed it. Give us some feedback. We've got our email on the website, but also I would encourage you to continue logging.